we were doing some camera tests for Ant-Man. Um, and that was incredible as well. But
Yeah.
Hey
I will.
everyone, welcome to our newest episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi Reviews. We are here with our amazing filmmaker, Eddie Organista, who was actually on set for that amazing series. We're gonna jump right ahead. We're gonna start by asking a few questions about his experience, how all of that. Then we're gonna jump into the review part of the episode. What I want to start about, maybe we can talk about Eddie, um, maybe like how you got the job or the process of getting the job. I feel that filmmakers would be interested in learning about that and preparation for you to start working. Like, how was the preparation for the first day of work? I would assume it was something interesting to talk about. Go
Oh
ahead.
man. Yeah, so the way I got the job was very straightforward. I had applied to ILM in March of 2020, literally at the beginning of the pandemic, and just, well, technically before everything shut down. So I was jobless for until like August or whatever, until I heard back from them saying that they wanted to, interview me, which I thought was amazing. I think it was August or September, something like that. I can't remember. And so
Was it
yeah,
through
so
LinkedIn or on their website,
yeah. I applied on the
or you
website.
had to
Now
know
I
someone?
no. I don't think you need to know someone. It does help. What happened with me was a little bit weird because I got called to do the interview, or I don't remember how it went. I just got called, and then simultaneously there was the first jobs from USC, which I'm sure you folks know about, and they also posted the job, and I was like, oh well, might as well like kind of like reach out to Lisa about that too, and just maybe improve my chances or whatever. And I don't know if that's what helped because I had already applied to the job previously. Um, but regardless, I had the interview, and it was you know it was a very straightforward process. They interviewed me, they liked me, and they said, all right, well, you're going to start in January 2021. I want to say the interview was much later than August. I don't know why August. I keep thinking it's in August, but it just seems that way.
So
Did you?
when
Oh,
you
yeah.
okay, I'll ask quickly. So when you reached out to Lisa, did you tell her you already applied to that, or
Yes. Yes, I
okay?
already told her I already replied. And then you know what I'm remembering is that they were trying to, so they called me for the interview, but they couldn't define like an eventual start date yet because they were thinking of possibly bringing me in earlier because Mandalorian was also being shot. Um, and so then I think that's what happened, and then they just decided, you'll start January. They didn't tell me what show it was, which I thought was exciting, and I was like trying to figure out what is the show. Um, as far as my preparation, I had zero experience in motion capture. I think the only thing I had in motion capture um I took one VFX class, and then we kind of went into the mocap room, but it was just a regular room, regular motion capture room with a small little volume, I guess you can say, for like video game motion capture or just general motion capture, which I thought was very interesting. But I knew next to nothing after that. So the first day, it's so.
Maybe Mac can go ahead with this question, then we can.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
My
please.
question was actually, what did you know what you were going to work on in the first place? But you already answered that. So
Yeah,
my new question is, I actually did a little research into mocap after we talked so much about it because I was just completely blown away. I've
yeah.
never heard of any of this stuff. I know a little bit about mocap because as a game designer, we do mocap as for our actors and for the art and whatnot. But I think I asked the wrong questions. I think I should be asking, how advanced is ILM's mocap compared to like your typical volume trying to track a character motion?
It's hard to gauge because that's the only one I'm aware of. I do know that ILM took advantage of that much quicker than
Mm-hmm.
anybody else, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
everything else exploded after that. More and more VFX companies are starting to do that and have
Yeah.
pop-up volumes. ILM also does pop-up volumes sometimes too. They did one I forgot for which show, but they did a pop-up volume where they literally built a massive like volume. And it I spoke to one of the engineers on set, who I asked him like, typically how long would it take to build an entire volume within a stage or whatever. He's like, honestly, with enough people, like a week. I'm like, oh my god.
Wow.
And you have to understand, not only is this thing massive, but there's so much interconnectivity that goes on with these volumes. It is just incredible. Like I also had to walk on top of the volume to readjust cameras, so readjust cameras or cables, SDI cables or Ethernet cables, I guess you can say. And sometimes you would wear harnesses to dangle ourselves on top of the volume to remove cameras or whatever. And it was but it's not as bad as it seems, but it is pretty high up. And so it was, I didn't have any preparation for this at all. I think on the first day. Or did you have another question before that, or was that your? Okay.
Nope, you're rolling.
Okay. No. So on the first day, it was because there was no real curriculum. I was the very first motion capture production assistant. Now there's motion capture technical directors, and then there's motion capture production assistants. Now I was the very first one ever, according to them. And so they weren't sure what to do with me. So I was kind of floating in between departments. So even though my main job title was motion capture, I was still floating and helping out the folks in virtual production stage techs. Now, what they do is I think I mentioned this before, is that they handle all of the markers and peripherals on the actual cinema camera. So they deal with that, and then they wrangle cables. I had to be on set and wrangling cables with them while the shot was being done a few times.
That's probably so cool.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It's so cool.
It was really euphoric. Every time I went down there, like I had no problem wrangling cable. Like I could do that like nobody's business. But in the beginning, there was no training. I mean, there was training. It was training on the job. It felt like being thrown into the fire, but it's not. I don't blame anyone for that. It was very stressful at the beginning because like they just didn't. We were also doing a lot of tests in the volume. We did a music video first before we started shooting. We did the Raya the Last Dragon music video, which you can look.
Snap.
Yeah, you can go and look that up. And so I was in music video for that, or worked on that music video. We did a lot of camera tests. I think I can say this now too. We were doing some camera tests for or actually I would say it's more of a volume test. No, it was a camera test for Ant-Man. And that was incredible as well.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I can even like say anything further, which I won't. So, but it was an amazing experience. I was actually a stand-in too for that. That was awesome. Just for the test, not the actual movie.
Just casually drop this in there. Yeah, I was an Ant-Man. No.
No, God, no, I wasn't.
Basically a lead actor. I don't know. I was in there a few times.
Right. So there was no training. So it took me a while. It took me a while to kind of get a hold of everything. Not just to learn we had what's called the floor person, and then we had the box person. The box person is really somebody who's up on a scaffolding type of thing. It wasn't really a scaffolding. It's just the best way I can describe it, but it was very secure. Where all the computers were for the software that runs the motion capture cameras that were surrounding the volume, and I had to learn that too. And so there was, but my team, they were so helpful, very helpful, and they were amazing, and they're still going strong. I ran into my former teammates on the Disney lot too, which was really awesome and
sick.
I'm not trying to trail off into anything else. But yeah, just to answer those questions straightforward, yeah, it was not a lot of preparation I had to do because I just didn't have the experience. But I think learning on a job that way really helped me figure it out pretty quickly. And yeah, so that was that's essentially what happened. I worked my way through it, as they say.
Are your sights set on anywhere after this, or are you continue? I mean, with ILM, like what? I guess I can't ask what the next project is, but I can ask like, what would you like to work on next within the realm of ILM's reach?
I guess let me just also add to that question too. So are you like full-time hired, or like do you get hired on specific projects, and do you have a contract or?
That's a good question. So
Yeah.
it was a bit different for me than my colleagues. So my colleagues were getting paid through Entertainment Partners, so it was contract, so it was run of show. However, when I got hired, which I got hired through the Jedi Academy program, I guess you can say, but it was a very much a misnomer because I didn't get involved in a lot of the meetings that the other people were dealing with because I was so busy on set, so I couldn't really do a lot of these meetings and stuff like that that's involved in that program. But we're gonna say so. Oh my god, I forgot what I was gonna say. What was your question again? Can you repeat that?
Me or Mac?
You.
Uh, Basically, it's like when you get hired in a tech company, for example, you work
Oh,
full time, you get paid every
yes.
month. That's how it goes.
Yes.
For
So
you,
so
is it that the case, or are you like more like independent contractor type of work?
gotcha. So they were through Entertainment Partners, and they were independent contractors, I guess you can say. For me, I was actually a full-time Disney employee, even though I had an end date. So I still had a 9-month contract, but I was employed by Disney full time, and I had all the benefits and everything like that. They did ask me if I wanted to move on to the next show. And a big part of me did want to, but I knew at the time, I wanted my route to go into a more creative side, and they were very supportive of that. So,
Nice.
but I would have, oh my god, I would love to work on Ahsoka. Like, I would really love to work on that show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially at the Star Wars Celebration, seeing Chopper live action Chopper was just a joy. But
A joy.
yeah,
You said the Jedi Academy team, is that a organization inside of ILM, or is that a Disney core of people?
That's a Lucasfilm thing. I believe it's a Jedi Academy program. It's just essentially it's like a trainee program, actually. So because again, they hire people with no experience like myself. They also hire people with experience. They just hired someone, a former classmate of mine, Anurag. He's on. He has a lot of knowledge and experience with mocap, so he fits right in. But I was really appreciative of the fact that they took a chance on someone like me, and
Yeah.
that's what the PA position is for. I think they're calling it something else now, but yeah, so it's very 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 good of them to, because it's all new for them as well. Actually, it's almost like they're learning as they go as well, with by still having the expertise that they have.
Annabelle, do you want to ask the next question if you want?
I'm just curious, I guess, about how you decided to take this role, talking more about the job, just like, was it intimidating? Obviously, this is such a big show. You said you didn't really know what the show was that you were working on when you kind of got into this, but I'm curious, like, when you found out what it was, like, how did you individually prepare to like take on such a task? Because I feel like that can be really daunting, and I especially would have been like, I don't know if I'm right for this. Like, can I do this?
Yeah, so thankfully we had people who have been on the Mandalorian shows before, and so they, without holding our hands per se, they did do their best. Honestly, it was a lot of observing and on the spot, like troubleshooting. The troubleshooting part was actually the way I learned. So for instance, there was a lot I didn't know about the motion capture cameras themselves. I didn't know what they actually did, and I definitely didn't know the software. But but like, for instance, I'll give you kind of a breakdown of how it progressively went. So I remember, like, my first day, they were like, okay, this is what the cameras are. This is the motion capture camera. This is the volume. And I was like, oh my god, this is amazing. And and then they showed us up over the volume to see where everything is, all the servers, all the uh, I want to call them modems, but they're not modems, but they're basically servers that feeds all of the information to the cameras, that come from our software. So in case we need to make any adjustments. So again, it's just a lot of observational stuff. The music video is what helped, I think, because
Yeah.
that was kind of the first time there was a live show happening, and I see what was going on firsthand, and kind of, you know, it was just literally on a spot. And I won't lie to you, Annabelle, it was very daunting and very like,
Yeah.
oh my god, what am I gonna do? Like, you know, like how can I be useful? Because I wasn't sure, you know, but you know, my supervisor at the time trained me pretty well to get me going, and he, you know, showed me the ropes and showed me where, like, there were little things that I had to do. Like I had to do something called healing the cameras. Now, what healing the cameras is basically recovering the cameras, because sometimes when motion captures, when there's an object inside the volume that the cameras are tracking, if it stays static for long enough, the cameras would go to sleep. It's like the best way I can describe it. They need constant like motion to stay awake, for the most part. And so so if there's not a lot happening in the shot, or if there's not a lot happening in between the shots or whatever, then, you know, sometimes we'll grab um what we call our wand, but basically it had like passive or active markers on it, and it would be powered. These markers would be powered, and we would go inside the volume and just kind of start waving around. We would literally start waving around, and it looks, and you'll probably see this in the BTS, probably, but either me or somebody else would be waving around and like trying to recover these cameras.
Sick.
And it looks very silly, and people thought I was doing a little dance early on, because we had two softwares that helped us heal these cameras. One of them required a ton of like movement or whatever. And the other one, all you needed to do is just walk around for like a little bit, and then you're good, as long as you held it up high or whatever. So these were incremental things, so these are not something I did right away. It was more like I watched my boss do it, and the other people do it as well, and then I was like, okay, I get it. And it just becomes like, oh, and I literally mean this, like it just literally becomes like a hands-on training process. And I think that's kind of how it is. And I think that the fact that they were so understanding about like, hey, it's cool, man, you'll get it, no worries, you know,
Yeah.
we'll figure it out. I think that's what helps. So it was daunting, but after a while it was just like, oh, this is actually pretty easy. Motion capture is pretty easy.
I'll leave that to you. Well,
I mean, yeah, no, it really was. It really was. After a while, you're like, this is actually pretty easy. The troubleshooting part was the most challenging. When things didn't go our way, either during a shot or in between shots, that's where things really can get really stressful, because if our volume or motion capture is not working, or if our motion capture stuff is not working, then we're not shooting.
Right.
And that's time and money wasted. So which has happened, you know, it's just technology. But I think we did a very, very good job at preventing any real delays. So I'm really happy about that.
I want to ask about when exactly did they tell you you'll be working on Obi-Wan Kenobi, and like did you get the job? Did you get the job yet? Did you start working? Was it before that? And how did you like mentally prepare yourself for that? Because even no matter how good the person is at what they do, once you're in this mental state and mental pressure that everyone's going to be watching your work, and how do you prepare for that? Or you don't care, you just go to work as if just another day?
To be fair, it, like when I first came on, the way I found out, I actually kind of found out by accident what the show was. And the reason I'm saying that is because on inside Disney, like the Disney ecosystem of like their intranet, or I guess you can say, there's a place where you can check out what projects are what, and they all have aliases. And one of them was called Joshua Tree. And Joshua Tree, I'm like, oh, that sounds really familiar, you know?
Yeah.
And I was assigned to that show. I'm like, and I was like, and then I started putting the pieces together. I was like, wait, if Mandalorian is shooting now, the next project can either only be Willow or Obi-Wan. But Willow is shooting in London, and I know they're not sending me to London, you know? So I was like, and I put two and two together. I'm like, oh shoot, I think I'm actually, oh my God. And then there was just like this like the, light bulb moment coming on, like, oh, wow, oh, no way. And then when you first see the volume, and then you first see the first content that goes up on the walls and what world it is, and you immediately recognize it, you're like, oh, wow. So this is happening. Like, oh my God. And then you just go on this, like, crazy nerd, drunken, moment that you have. And it's amazing. But as far as the pressure, I want the show to succeed, and I really wanted it to succeed because I was just so happy to be there. And it's just so nice when you're on a show that you're really, really happy to be there and be proud of that. You're like, oh God, I really want this to be good, and the stuff that I've seen when I was there, it really gave me confidence that it would be good, or at least a lot of people would enjoy it. And I think that's what's important to me, that if people are enjoying it, that makes me happy. If there's moments in there that they really love, that makes me happy. Whatever critics think about the show, they all have their rights to criticize it and everything. But the fact that there's people out there really enjoying Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan Kenobi really just warmed my heart. And
exactly.
And especially with Hayden and everything like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, because there's so many good people that worked on this show, and they really worked their butts off. And when I hear people trash a project or something like that without any real constructiveness to it, it's a bit disheartening, because it's just like, these are people that really work their asses off, and everybody was trying their best, and I feel that our best definitely got us here, and I'm really excited for the rest of the show. I mean, it's just like a memory bank that will stay, filled forever. So
yeah.
Mac, you have a question?
Well, I know we're on episode 3, so now I have to ask you about your involvement itself. I think one of my favorite scenes, and I guess spoiler alert, is definitely Darth Vader mauling Obi-Wan, which we'll get to later when we watch the scene for the review. But in that fire scene, when he's balling him around, I like the scene where he's overlooking the flames when they become like a barrier separates them, and it's just like the flames in front of him, and it's his mask and it's illuminated. What was your favorite scene with Darth Vader? Because that was by far mine at that show. And also, like, do you have any influence over these scenes, or was there something you saw and you were like, oh, this could be better? Like,
right. So that the scene that you're speaking about, specifically about the fire and Vader just manhandling Obi-Wan, that was shot actually on location, so that wasn't in our volume, so I was not there to participate in that. But I do have a favorite Darth Vader scene. I'm not going to tell you what it is because it hasn't been shown yet. And it's there's an emotional moment at some point, which I will not get into. But yeah, and as far as your other question, as far as like, did you ask me like what I liked about the scene as well, or what was your other question?
You mostly just what was your favorite, I guess, in episode 3, like when Vader.
Episode 3.
Yeah.
Probably the. I mean, I have to say, I think it's when Vader stops and senses Obi-Wan and then just taunts him.
Yes.
Just taunts him by killing the villagers. And I'm just like, oh my God. And also just the juxtaposition, or the contrast in power, between Vader and Obi-Wan was immediate from the moment Vader graced the screen in that scene.
Yes.
And because Obi-Wan is scared and hiding, and Vader is just walking down like the badass that he is, and I guess we can get into that, but I love that scene where he just stops and looks.
In that scene specifically, yeah, right there, exactly. Actually,
oh shoot!
Literally,
right as I move it.
Literally, exactly. It's like shadows and breathing.
Yeah,
and it's really ominous. But right here, there's a point where Obi-Wan like flinches a little bit, and that's when it snaps back to Vader, and Vader like turns and looks at him, because he's probing out with the Force to find Obi-Wan, and he just catches him, and it's just such an intense moment because it's so subtle, the flinch, but like
You can hear his breathing, how the panic, just the pure terror and panic. And remember, this is the first time he's seen it.
Yeah. Hayden looking like he's 8 feet tall.
Right.
A little bit further.
Yeah.
Got him. Oh no.
Yep.
Oh no. One of the craziest scenes by far in the show, just because you know how scary Darth Vader is. I think that's one of the things that we underestimate about this character, is especially after watching the original trilogy, he kind of just comes off as the Emperor's right-hand man, like a really dangerous goon or something. But he's not. He's second in command. Like, he's second in running for the Sith Empire. And he's not a joke. And so, like, he's paid a lot of respect in Rogue One in the hallway scene. And I just love this part, because this is just typical Darth Vader, walking down the hall, snapping kids' necks, busting up families, killing husbands. And it's just like remorseless. I think a lot of people have this lingering emotional connection to Anakin Skywalker from the prequel trilogy, but like, just like an addict will change their life completely and behave completely differently and be almost a different person, the dark side will affect a person's mind and their behavior and their personality. He's not Anakin Skywalker anymore. That person is quite dead. The redemption, that's what makes the redemption so incredible. It's like, this is a person who kills children. This is a child killer. He has no problem doing it. Right. The inside of the Inquisitors like, their meeting chamber is full of lightsabers and youngling helmets. It's horrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, and by the way, after the last episode airs, remind me to tell you something really fun that happened on set, that I can only describe as wishing it was real. That's all I
really leaving us hanging on that.
I'm gonna have a panic attack.
Right. It's a moment that happened on set that I was like, oh my Lord, I can't believe I was here for that. But,
oh my God.
Okay, what, we have 3 weeks till we hear this?
Yes. So you have to remind me, because I probably will forget.
Oh, I won't.
Good.
It is set.
Yeah.